Hello everyone, and welcome back to RPG Roulette, the actual play RPG show where we're all the Game Master normally, but this is a very special mini-series that we're doing.
Not today,
here.
we're not.
Yeah, we're not all the Game Master now. We have a very special guest with us that we want to introduce. We have with us here Will Donaldson. Say hi, Will.
Howdy, everybody. Cowpokes and
Will!
cowfolks,
Woohoo!
hustlers and rustlers, villains and varmints. I am here to take you on a journey where you will all no longer be nerds sitting in front of your computer. You will be cowboys, and you will be on a grand adventure. Depending on how grand you make it.
Depends.
It will be grand.
Yeah, right.
It'll be
It
grand.
might be.
It'll be
I
terrible.
promise it will be an adventure. The grandness and scale of which is largely down to you.
Excellent.
That's
Will,
how we
do you
like
wanna
it.
let us know who you are and why we're so excited to have you on the show today?
Hi, I'm Will Donaldson. I'm South London's foremost bike seat repair expert. I a few years ago, I kickstarted a little game called Dead in the West, and then not long after I kickstarted it, these guys started playing a very long and very exciting campaign. It was really great for me to listen to. And about 2 years after they started the game, they wrapped up their campaign in a really satisfying and cathartic way. And then about a year and a half after that, the game came out. So that's a joke. It came out earlier than that, but it sure did. It sure did take me longer than I thought. Boy, I've learned some lessons about Kickstarter. First and foremost, however long you say it will take you to make your game, go ahead and just do, add a little to the power of 3 next to your initial estimate.
Tack on some zeros.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's good to know. Good to know.
I'm very, very happy with the finished product. The book is pretty darn nice looking. People seem to have had a really fun time with the game, and it was a great experience to listen to these 4 play through with 5 characters, because one of them was not so lucky.
Right. Rest
true.
in peace, Doc Lewis.
Speaking of us four, should we also introduce ourselves for any new listeners we might be having?
Hey, if you're a new listener, welcome. We're glad you're here. So we just wrapped up our series Red Bat, where we played Will's game, Dead in the West. We're very excited to have him on here to lead us through another game of Dead in the West. This will be a fun little mini-series. This is a separate story, and we are playing new characters. You will meet them when we get in, but they're all a little bit different from the characters we played in Red Bat. But if you don't know us, my name's Keaton Sample. On the show, I'll be playing a guy named Deacon Volts.
My name is Luke Howard, and on this show I will be playing Josephus Featherswallow, a completely reputable business person.
Hey everybody, this is Noah Jones, and on this show I am playing a rancher by the name of Floyd Davis.
Hey, this is Hunter Wood. So, on this show, I'm going to be playing Reginald Johnson, who is a Civil War veteran who is kind of down on his luck post-war.
Hunter, I need to tell you, it was... okay, I did it to Will. There we go. It took a lot of willpower to not interrupt you.
You futzed my joke.
No.
I was going to say, and I am Will Donaldson, and I will be playing et al.
Very good.
Yes, you will.
Yeah, it's not an RPG Roulette intro unless I absolutely flub someone's cadence. But yeah, so we are going to be playing Dead in the West again. So enjoy the show, everybody. We will be playing with the person who created the system, so we'll probably follow a bit more of the rules than we did in Dead in the West or in Red Bat.
I have a list. I have a list of mistakes each of you has individually committed.
Oh no!
I'm gonna
Mine
be like
is so long.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I'm gonna be like Noah. If your character knew how to dive, you would have survived this situation. But I guess you didn't. Oh, Hunter! If only you knew the rules for all 4 different types of cover, you would have not been torn to ribbons by that Gatling gun.
This is just going to be us, our characters dying in more and more.
And then I'll ask what you learned.
Yes,
Exactly.
This is a learning experience. But thanks so much for being here with us, Will. And I guess without further ado, we'll let you take the reins from here, and the rest of us will join this ride back into the wild, wild west.
The wind howls like a hungry dog, rattling an old barn's frosty doors. Across the way from inside his home, Floyd Davis looks out his window, a modest fire crackling in the fireplace. It provides him little solace as David turns a question over and over in his head. Would it be warm enough in there for me? He turns his head and looks at a letter addressed to him on the table. What is it, Floyd? Tell me, what's in the letter?
The letter is a letter from my sister, Jennifer, all the way from Illinois. The winter is so cold, and, well, you know, pretty much my entire ranch is gone under. All of the cattle have frozen to death. I've got the chickens here in the house with me, trying to keep them alive. She's asking me to come to Illinois to wait out the winter with her.
Are you going to?
After reading the letter, Floyd's read the letter probably 4 or 5 times now. God damn it, and he crunches it up and throws it into the fire. He's not going to be spending the winter away from his ranch.
Montana, 1886, was being visited by a winter that would forever change the face of the United States. It was a cold the open range could not survive, and it was utterly unforgiving for those that made the mistake of thinking themselves adequately prepared. While the winter abates briefly now, in doing so, it reveals the extent of its destructive wrath. Cattle frozen, wild game gone, crops desolate. A man with slicked black hair stands in an ornate office, various papers scattered sporadically across his desk. He looks out a frosted window, then down at a coin in his hands. A knock on the door, followed timidly by a questioning and uncertain, "Sir?" He waits a moment. He flips the coin in his hand, catches it. He looks down at the result and quietly whispers to himself, "Well, all right then." This is RPG Roulette, Martingale. Right now, we're in Enid's Saloon, in the town of Big Fork. 15 years ago, this establishment would have been filled with the hustle and bustle of excited and eager miners, ready to revel in their day's earnings. Today, however, it is nearly empty, but for the short woman behind the bar, absent-mindedly attending various tasks, and Reginald, who is anxiously strumming his fingers at a table in the corner of the establishment. Hunter, who are you?
So, Reginald has kind of made his way to Big Fork some time ago looking for work. He's been just kind of wandering aimlessly ever since kind of after the war. He returned home and realized that most of the people who had lived in his town either hadn't came back or moved. So at that point, he's just been kind of searching, and he had heard about Big Fork from it being a mining city, but he got here probably, like you said, just a little bit too late for that. And now he's really kind of torn because he stayed here for some time, but it's really that reality is set in that, you know, there's not going to be gold here. He's not going to finally turn his fortune around, but he also, at this point, he doesn't really know where he would go if he were to leave.
And what does Reginald look like?
So I think Reginald is he's towards his later middle-aged. He was very young when he fought in the Civil War. But I think he looks older than a man of his age would, just from being homeless or near it for so many years now. His hair's kind of started to gray. I think it used to be kind of a blonde, but now it's much more gray. And he's got kind of a lot of, a hardened, weathered face, just from, he was a farmer before he was a soldier. So, he's always been someone who kind of lives outside. And his clothes are pretty ragged and torn up. Like, he's someone, if you were kind of saw him, you would kind of, your first guess would be, oh, he's not been inside a lot. He's just kind of wandering around. I think he has kind of food stains on his kind of shirt and jacket. The one probably noticeable thing is he still has his sword from the time that he is in the military. And I think that just because, you wouldn't expect someone kind of like that to be carrying around a sword. I think that kind of makes it a distinguishing factor for him.
Outside, it begins to hail. Strangely, this is actually a welcome relief from the snow and bitter wind that has ridden through Big Fork the last few days. The sleet scratches against the top of a canvas carriage manned by two men that could not look more different from one another. These men are Josephus and Deacon. They secure their carriage outside Enid's saloon and quickly have this exchange.
Freezing my nips off out here, Josephus.
Fear not, Deacon. We shall soon find solace within Enid Saloon. It is a wonderful place.
Describe your characters briefly.
So Josephus Feather Swallow is a man in his mid to late 40s, but you might think he was older than that just based on his gray hair. His hair has been gray for quite some time. Whether he dyes it or it is natural that color, not many people know. But he also wears some round glasses, a short top hat, and a black suit with a bolo tie. And he carries a cane.
And your business is?
Oh, of course. My business is Josephus Feather Swallow's incredible all-purpose miracle tonic.
That says it all.
He sells... Do what?
I think that says it all.
I think that says it all, yeah.
And Deacon.
Towering over Josephus is a big, brutish fella. Deacon he does have a shaved head of some stubble now here in the winter, some short black hair, but a big, burly, thick black beard around his grizzled and hardened face. He's wearing a big fur and leather coat to keep him warm out here. What's under that coat, you can only imagine, hide a couple of weapons. You get a good look at Deacon, and you think you might walk on the other side of the road.
And what would you say Deacon's business is?
Wherever Josephus goes, I owe him, so I'll make sure, no one gives him any trouble.
As you work to secure the carriage, Floyd quickly walks past you. Uncharacteristically, he is in the mood for a distraction. He enters the saloon. Floyd is noticed by Reginald, but Reginald is not noticed by Floyd. Describe Floyd for a minute.
Floyd is young. Much younger than you would think of the average ranch owner. Inheritance and everything, but he's got short brown hair, a mustache that he normally tries to keep pretty well kept, but the past few months have been unkind, so a stubbly mess is his face. He has just this fur wrapped around him as he walks into the saloon, fresh from a kill that he had not too long ago of a little black bear. But yeah, no, he's kind of homely, wears a hat, is definitely very cold and very unkempt at the moment.
And what do you do when you enter the saloon?
As soon as he walks in, he takes off the fur that he had draped around him and slings it onto whatever coat rack is near the door. And then he immediately walks up to the bar. Hey, I need something. You got anything warm?
The old lady turns around.
Warm. I need something warm.
She pauses for a moment and says, "Well, you're in the wrong state."
Ha ha. Yeah, I know. Just pour me a shot of whiskey, then.
She nods and begins to pour. At this moment, the two other men from outside enter.
Oh, just terrible this weather we're having.
Yeah.
Josephus looks around to see where they might be able to find a table.
You notice that Enid's saloon is in the process of undergoing some major cleans. In fact, all of the tables and chairs are in one side of the bar, sort of haphazardly stacked on top of each other. At the other side of the bar, at the other side of the saloon, there is one table with two chairs, and Reginald is sitting in one of them.
I hang my hat on the rack next to the door.
Yeah, Deacon doesn't think twice about it. I walk over, I grab one of the chairs that's stacked up and slap it down on this table so there's a spot for me and Josephus, and I just go ahead, sit down, I go,
Get me my usual, Joe.
Right, certainly, right away. Josephus heads up to the bar and kind of like tries to curl his mustache a bit to try to... his hair has gone gray since he was last in Big Fork, so he's kind of hoping that he's not noticeable by the people here. So he kind of approaches the bar.
You would almost certainly have interacted with Enid before. I'm gonna roll a frontier check. Nope. She's old. She has no idea who you are.
Josephus also disguises his voice and he says, "Hello there. One whiskey, please, and one. Well, do you have any rye?"
She pauses a minute and says, I got whiskey, I've got beer, and I've got ice.
A beer for me, thank you.
She nods, and she gets to work, pouring each of you your drinks. Does Reginald have a drink?
I think Reginald has not ordered a drink. I think he's just been sitting waiting.
You notice towards the back end of the bar there are some stairs leading up. This establishment did have a second floor, though you don't know what's up there. All of you are given your drinks. Do you want to sit at the bar? Do you want to sit at the table with Reginald, or wander around?
I think,
I kind of give Floyd a nod, and I take the drinks back over to the table that Deacon's sitting at.
Yeah, I think I did sit down at the table where Reginald is. I haven't said anything. I've not looked him in the eye. I just sat there, established, like, I'm gonna sit here too.
Well, Deacon, who's your friend here?
I look over at Reginald and raise my eyebrows and grab my glass of whiskey and start sipping.
I think I hadn't really acknowledged Deacon in any way, but now that you walk up, I kind of look at the two of you. Well, I'm just here waiting for somebody.
Oh, and who might it be that you're waiting upon?
Fellow's last name, Jameson. I don't suppose either of you know him?
Jameson. Can't say that I do. Deacon, do you have any idea?
No.
I think Floyd, in hearing Reginald's voice, is gonna look over and be like, "Oh, Mr. Johnson, good to see you."
I kind of raise a hand to acknowledge that I heard him, but don't respond.
Floyd looks very confused as to why he hasn't at least said hello.
Do you two know each other?
You Jameson?
No, the name's Floyd. I think Floyd kind of stands up from the bar and walks over. Yeah, no, just from around... You ain't from around these parts, aren't you? I don't think I've ever seen y'all before.
I take another drink.
Well, Deacon is not. I've actually been here quite a few times, selling my wares.
And who are you?
Why, my name is Josephus Featherswell, and I say it pretty quietly, so that Enid doesn't hear. My name is Josephus Featherswallow, purveyor of Josephus Featherswallow's incredible all-purpose miracle tonic. Of course, right now it probably would not be of much use, as it is all frozen as a block of ice in our carriage. But we needed to come in out of the cold, so...
Floyd just gives him a blank stare.
As Josephus is rattling on, Reginald, make a frontier roll.
All right. Heck yeah. First
roll.
Boom. That's going to be, let me check my character sheet. A 3.
Plus anything?
Plus 2, so 5.
You can see outside the window. It is quite frosty, but through the hail, you notice that there is a carriage outside. Not the one that Deacon and Josephus came in on. This carriage is not very close to Enid's saloon. In fact, it's parked, for lack of a better word, a few yards away. Someone walks out of the carriage and starts to walk towards the saloon. Someone else jumps out the carriage and walks towards them. Reginald, roll a d10.
7.
You get a feeling. A voice in your head. A simple phrase. It gets bad from here. The door is flung open, pulled harshly against its hinges, and a tall man with wild eyes and dirty hair enters the saloon. Reginald, it has been many years. You immediately clock this man as your ex-compatriot, Matt Jameson. He is disheveled, seemingly exhausted, and there's something twitchy about him. He seems just barely conscious of his surroundings, but at the same time, filled with a kind of dangerous purpose. He strides towards the bar. A shorter man follows. This man is bald, broad-shouldered, and red-faced from the cold. Still, there's another sense of desperation about this man as he nervously walks behind the first.
As soon as these two walk into the saloon, Deacon's gaze and focus shifts purely to them. I've kind of settled into my role as, not official, but basically bodyguard here, and I've assessed Reginald here as a non-threat, but these two seem like a threat, so I'm gonna focus on them. I'm not gonna do anything, but I'm watching them closely.
How many drinks have you had?
At this point, I have finished my first glass of whiskey. And you know what? Honestly, it's so cold on the drive over here, I was probably sipping on my flask, so I probably had one in the chamber.
Make a resilience roll. That is, roll 1d8 and subtract your toughness modifier.
Yes. That'll be an 8, but my toughness modifier is 2, so a 6.
You are tipsy. I'm not going to say you're inebriated, but you are a little tipsy. But
no,
that doesn't interfere with your focus on them, and it doesn't affect any of your stats or anything. I'm just saying you've had a bit to drink.
It's helping me stay warm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at this point that Reginald kind of turns to Floyd. Floyd, it's good to see you and all, but I have some business I gotta see to, and I kind of pat him on the shoulder, and I get up and I walk to the bar.
You begin walking towards the bar. The short man, who you don't recognize, notices you and looks at you with somewhat of a wide-eyed expression. Matt, however, is in his own world entirely. He is standing at the bar.
I think that not in like a threatening way, just in a more just to be kind of safe way, I put my hand on the hilt of my sword and kind of like slide up to the bar and lean on it, and I want to start talking to Matt. I guess the thing I'm kind of looking for is to see, like, once I start talking to him, if he kind of recognizes me or not.
Mm-hmm. What do you say?
So, I see you made it after all, partner.
Reginald, Matt, after a beat, turns to look at you. His eyes scan you up and down. He turns to look back towards the bar, but then turns his head again, scanning you quickly a second time. He says, Reggie, you came. And for a brief moment, a smile appears on his face, but then is quickly lost in the fog that he walked in with. He says, you actually came. Wow, that's a thing like that. He turns back to Dart and says, this here's Reggie. We served together, and he actually came when I asked him to. Wow. He says, hey, Reggie, look, I'm in some stuff. I'm in some things, and I may have some work for you, buddy.
Well,
what do you say?
The state of things I'm in right now, I'm not saying no to any type of work.
Reggie nods somewhat erratically, and he says, well, listen, you gotta be with me in this, but let me ask, you speak legalese, right?
If it needed, I suppose I can make it happen.
He says, yeah, you know the law, and fancy writing and stuff, right? That's something you know?
Yep.
He says, good. I've got some documents. I need some advice to make sure that they are what I think they are. This here is Dart. And he motions again at the short man. The short man looks increasingly less and less comfortable. At this moment, make a frontier roll again.
7.
There is a creaking from upstairs. At this creaking, Matt's attention is immediately turned upstairs. His smile, even his sporadic coming and going smile, is immediately gone. He looks up wide-eyed and then looks back down at you. He says, look, we got work, we got paying work, but you're gonna have to be with me on this first. And he motions at his side and says, we just need a little money to get ourselves off the ground and everything will be smooth sailing from then on.
How much of this is Deacon hearing? Can I make a roll for that?
I will say you will have to make a roll because I think Matt is being quiet. I think he's talking under his breath. So make a frontier roll.
Frontier, for sure. Ooh, this is a good die. That's another nat 8 plus frontier's 1. So that's a 9.
You have not only heard all of this, but you can clearly see that Matt is motioning towards a 6-shooter at his side. So you not only heard all of that, you saw that he is motioning towards a gun.
Yeah, I think then I'm gonna just kind of lean in a bit and Josephus, I give you a look that you know at this point. It means listen to what I'm about to say. And I say, follow me on this one, Joe. Might be able to get us some money. And I stand up and I say, so what's the plan, Reginald? And I walk up and I put my arm around Reginald's shoulder and kind of lean up and go, what are we getting into? And I kind of join this conversation.
So this is what you want to do. I'm going to say you're a good few strides from the bar, though.
Okay, understandable.
You stand up, you begin to talk. I am going to say make a hard talk roll.
Cool. Fortunately, that's the only talk I have that has a positive modifier.
I think you are trying to, through force of charisma, take control of this situation. So I'm going to say that's hard talk.
Understandable. I picked the right D8 today. That's a 7 plus 1. That's an 8.
Dang, son.
All right. Reginald does not flip the fuck out by a... Reginald does not... not Reginald, sorry. Matt does not flip the fuck out when a giant stranger he didn't know was there starts striding towards him loudly. I really was thinking, what the fuck are you doing?
I know that he's on edge, but I'm trying to establish myself as Reginald's friend, even though I don't know him.
Okay, you start striding over. That was a pretty good roll. I'm going to say that Matt does not freak out, but he does allow you to get up to Reginald and put your arm around him. And Matt looks at you. What's your demeanor?
Okay, my demeanor is the ruffian.
Of course. And then he looks at Reginald and he says, "Is this man a friend of yours, Reggie?"
So,
I squeeze your shoulder a bit as he asks that.
Reginald had been pretty much all on board with what Matt had been telling him. He's desperate for work. And then he got to the point where Matt was saying he's going to need some money. And that is the one thing Reginald definitely does not have much of. So now when someone else kind of comes up and, he's just kind of met this Josephus guy for the first time, but he kind of looks like someone Reginald could believe could have money. So he kind of takes this as like, this is a good luck. I was about to be just like up of a creek without a paddle. I was going to have to tell him I didn't have any money and try and like still make this work. But he takes this as like, I bet they have money, and he goes with it 100%. I kind of pat him on the back and I say, I met him in this town of Big Fork, and we've been doing some work together. He's a good, trustworthy man.
I wink.
Talk roll.
Let me see if I have a modifier for that. Yeah, I do. Heck yeah. So it's going to be after 6 plus 1.
Good rolls today, boys.
Nice. Okay. Matt nods and he says, Okay. This is going good. I don't know how much we're going to get out of this. And he looks at the old woman and he says, I don't know how much we're going to get out of this bar, but it should be enough to give us a head start.
Okay, yeah, I gotta say, did Floyd hear any of this? Because I need to know, because that is going against everything he believes in. If he heard this at all, I'm gonna
say that at this point Reggie has eased up a bit and is a bit like louder. So I'm gonna say, yeah, you did hear that.
Yeah, I think at that Floyd's gonna stand up and be like, Excuse me, sir. You ain't talking about trying to rob this here establishment, are you?
Indeed. I'm also thinking, what would Deacon do right now?
Floyd.
Josephus is sipping his beer.
Floyd.
Yes.
Make a decision. Who are you looking at right now?
I am looking right at Matt. Especially since he was the one who said something about the establishment. So I'm looking right at him.
Okay. Matt's face goes cold. The color drains from it. He looks at Dart. Dart looks at him. He pauses a minute.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn my body. I'm not gonna quick draw here because I'm going to try to prevent combat here. I'm gonna position myself big and imposing in between the two and just kind of say, let me handle this one.
I am gonna say, you need to make a wiliness roll.
Understandable. Wiliness is not my... Oh, I have a +2 in wiliness too. That's a 6 + 8. Or 6 +
nice.
2, not +8. +2 makes it 8.
You position yourself.
This is plus
You
8.
position yourself between Floyd and Dart. Dart was absolutely reaching for his gun, and you stand in front of him.
Yeah, I read that in the room, and I go, how about we take this outside?
Dart looks up at you.
That's to
Yeah.
Floyd specifically. Kind of try to take this one who might get in the way outside and away from this scene.
Okay. What do you do, Floyd?
I don't think so. If y'all are gonna be robbing Eden here, I can't be allowing that.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, no. At that point, I will kind of gesture my hand towards my hip, but not pull my gun out from underneath my coat quite yet.
I'm hearing that. I'm just gonna make a resilience roll to see if Matt's brain explodes.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Matt looks at you, Reginald, and he says, "You're in or you're out, buddy." And he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a revolver and points it at Enid.
Quick
and
draw.
He says, that was a pretty late quick draw, buddy. That was. I mean, I'll let you do it, but that's well after the inciting phrase. So.
Listen, I needed to stop anything else from happening. I know it's not going to be a good roll, but I gotta do something here. Yeah. So
right.
I'm gonna pull out my revolver, and I'm just gonna.
Now, so you are aware,
Yes.
you are committing. If with a player instigated quick draw, you are committing to doing the action. So if it's a gun, it's shooting. If it's a knife, it's throwing it. Like
Okay.
your quick draw is not just pulling out your gun.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah. No. Oh
All
yeah.
right.
No. Yeah. I'm pulling out the gun, and I mean I'm trying to I'm just shooting up into the air. I'm going to attempt to just shoot up into the air, not really shoot at anybody. More just trying to pull attention away from Enid.
all right. Well, roll. I've already rolled for Matt, so I know where the cards have fallen for him.
Okay. So that will be a 4-6.
Right. You have beaten him by 1. So here's what happens. Matt, nervous as nervous can be, fumbles with his gun in his pocket. You shoot into the air. With that, in surprise, he shoots into the floor. At this point, Enid drops to the ground. You're all rolling initiative now.
Yes.
Whew, okay, that's what I wanted. I needed Enid to get out of the way.
Let me make sure I don't have
This
any...
is plus wiliness, correct?
I'm going to say, with the speed in which Enid dropped to the floor, this isn't her first rodeo.
This is not the first time someone's walking to the bar, pulled a gun.
Yeah.
And this is wiliness.
Wiliness, yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So I rolled a 9.
Okay.
I got a 3 + 2 of 5.
Can you go ahead and say your character names and then your initiative
Yes.
rolls?
Deacon 5.
All right.
Josephus 9.
Ooh. Pretty
Floyd
good, Josephus.
8
plus
10.
Damn,
good,
Floyd.
We got 8 plus 2.
Reginald got a 6.
All right. Well, Matt characteristically got a 1. So,
Okay, good.
there's that. And let's just roll for Dart. Okay, Dart got a 7. So that means first up is Floyd. Floyd,
Okay.
is anyone with you?
No, not currently. I think I left Hector back at home.
All right. Well then, Floyd, what do you do?
What I do is, just firing into the air, I'm going to reach at my hip and I'm going to pull out my lasso. I am going to, then I'm going to kind of, with both hands, I'm going to start trying to lasso, and I'm going to try to throw my lasso at Matt and tie him up, just to try to, again, I need this guy with the gun to not try to shoot again.
Okay, so you make a roll using your lasso experience on a hit. One of the target's limbs, choice of the wielder, is restrained, and they cannot move away from the wielder until they beat them in a toughness contest. Okay.
Perfect. Cool. Yeah, so I will roll that experience, which will be a 7 after my modifier with it.
Okay, so the way that would have worked is if you had gotten an 8 or above, in combat an 8 or above is a crack shot. With a whip, on an 8 or above, you can lasso them and then immediately pull them over.
Cool.
But because you did not get a crack shot, you just lasso one of their limbs. So that's your main action. You have, I think you probably lassoed their dominant hand, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going for. Again, the gun hand is what I was going for.
All right. Yeah, you've lassoed. Is there anything you want to do with your quick action?
I think just, with that, I'm just going to be like, stand down, boys. We don't need to be fighting here.
All right,
And that's all it's
Josephus,
gonna
you're
say.
up.
Josephus is going to start making his way upstairs to try to get out of the way of the gunfight.
Yep.
Okay. Let's say you are running upstairs. I think you're gonna run past. You're gonna run past Dart and Deacon. I think Deacon is doing a pretty good job of distracting Dart and getting in the way. So I'm gonna say you can. I'm gonna say you can run around them pretty easily and start making your way up the stairs.
Okay.
And you can make it up a good, let's say 5 or 6 stairs. It's the staircase continues upwards for a bit, then it turns and continues in another direction, and there's a window at the top of the first level of the stairs. And you kind of have a pretty good view of the bar from where you are.
Is there a chandelier by chance?
There is not a chandelier.
Okay.
It's not that kind of establishment. Next up is Dart. Dart is pretty freaked out. Dart is gonna take a swipe at. Well, let's see. I don't know if Dart is super afraid of Deacon, because Deacon was trying to control the situation. So I'm gonna say Dart is gonna throw a knife at you, Floyd.
Perfect.
Okay. So that is an 8, so that'll be +2 damage.
Oh, shoot.
He only rolls a 2,
Okay. That's not awful.
but he does get a crack shot. So I'm going to say he flings his knife into your arm, hoping that you'll let go of your lasso. So hang on, let me see. How much damage did I say that was?
4.
You said it
total.
was 2 plus 2.
Okay. Go ahead and make a very quick toughness roll, just to see if you can still hold on to your lasso after getting knifed in the arm.
I rolled a 5.
I'm gonna say you hold on kind of limply, but you
Okay.
are not expecting that, and it did hurt. It did hurt quite a bit.
Absolutely.
All right. So next up we have Reginald.
So I think up until that point, Reginald had been kind of waiting to see exactly how this would unfold. His mind wasn't completely made up yet, but the only person that he really has any loyalty to in this situation is Floyd. So once that guy threw a knife at him, he decided that that's who he was going to kind of focus on. So I want to just pull up my sword and take a jab at him.
All right.
Let me look at my character sheet. My sword.
I think sword just uses fast hand and does a d6, and it's like if you land a crack shot, you get to do something. So yeah, a sword is 1d6 and uses fast hand.
Cool. I did just a straight up 5.
Okay, so 5 is plus, not plus or minus anything, so just roll damage.
Okay. That's gonna be 4.
Ooh, pretty nasty hit. Now, so you know, if you land a crack shot with a sword against a toppled, grappled, or restrained opponent, which may have been Matt in this case, you can just attempt to decapitate them. Now, I understand you might not have wanted to do that in this situation, but so you know, that is an option.
Good to know.
Good to know.
Yeah, I don't think he like.
Yeah,
ready
I
for
understand.
that,
I
I'll
understand.
keep that in mind. If the opportunity arises where Noah lassos someone again, I may take a shot at him.
So, next up is Deacon.
Yeah, so Deacon's here to try to find the most advantageous outcome for him. At first, it was getting in on the robbery, but now these guys don't seem prepared. And the short, bald guy's not looking at me anymore, so I'm just gonna, I don't want to kill these guys. I might want to get info out of them. I'm gonna slip on my brass knuckles, Matilda and Jackie, and just pop this little short guy right in the back of the head if I can.
He's distracted. I'm gonna let you do this. I would typically think putting on both sets of brass knuckles might be a bit difficult to do mid-combat.
Fair.
But I think Dart, he just threw the knife at this dude. I think he's fairly distracted, so I'm gonna let you do that.
Awesome. I will roll my accuracy with my brass knuckles experience. So that's gonna be a 9.
Nice.
Total, yeah. And so let me roll. That's a D4 damage. But 9, I believe, gives me +3. Yeah, that's a 3 + 3 is 6. And I guess it's a crack shot, so I am aiming for the back of his head, just to not pop him, and knock him out if I can.
Yep. So I guess you're gonna do a topple contest against them.
Right.
Add in your brass knuckles experience. Can you get that up? I'm gonna keep track of HP. How much damage did you say you did to him?
6. And so my topples with my brass knuckles is a that's a 6.
Okay. I don't think it matters.
Okay.
Because you punch this dude in the back of the head, and whether you mean to or not, he goes down like a ton of bricks. I don't think I'm gonna let you say post hoc I'm rolling non-lethal damage.
Understandable.
You hit him in the back of the head with brass knuckles when he was distracted. He goes down.
Yeah, I see him thud on the ground. I look at Jackie, the one I hit him with, and I go, not again.
Oh. All right. Well, last in turn order is Matt. And Matt is basically, you can tell by the look on his face that his heart is pumping a mile a minute. He is fumbling. He is unsure of what to do. One of his arms is restrained. His companion has gone down. And I'm going to say he turns and just tries to bolt out of the saloon. Let's make a toughness contest.
Okay.
And see if he can get away from you, Floyd.
All right, come on, die. Work with me here. Work with me. Nice. Okay, so 6 plus, so that'll be a 7.
He just beat you. He got an 8 in total.
Oh, dang it!
But what I'm gonna say with that 8 is he gets away from you just about, but as he's getting away, it's not a clean getaway. He pulls his arm and you let go of the lasso, but as he's running out the saloon, he trips over and he's fallen onto the wood outside, and he's crawling away out into the mud and in the hail outside. and that's his action. So top of the turn order with Floyd.
Yeah, what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna follow him outside, and like as he's crawling away, just point my revolver at him and be like, "Sir, we don't have to keep doing this no more. I don't want to have to kill you. Now turn yourself in."
I am going to say that this is ostensibly the end of combat.
Okay.
Now, who wants to do what? I'm going to say, like, very quickly, your characters have 3 seconds, depending on where you want to go and what you want to do.
I'll just quickly,
Josephus-
I wipe off my knuckles, throw them in my pocket, and I go, "It's safe, Joe."
Josephus is continuing upstairs and is going to go into a room.
Okay,
Just
Josephus,
the first room he finds.
you are going upstairs and you begin walking towards a room. That's what Deacon does. What does Reginald do then?
I think I holster my sword and I just kind of turn towards Deacon and kind of start looking him kind of up and down.
I just raise my eyebrows right back at you.
So you don't go outside. You stay in the bar.
Yeah, I think that Reggie's kind of confident that Floyd can handle it from here, and he's not really... If it's going to become like a thing where he's trying to get him to turn himself in, Reggie doesn't really want to get involved in that.
Mm-hmm. Outside Floyd, you start to see there is a carriage, and during the fracas, the carriage has begun to move, and it is sort of slowly driving away. The Matt in the ground, in the mud and in the hail, is looking up at you. He's shaking, he's shivering. It doesn't look like he knows what to do. It doesn't look like he knows what to do. It doesn't look like he's fully comprehending what's going on either right now. But that same wild look is in his eyes, and he's sort of darting around looking from place to place as the carriage gets further and further away. Josephus, you open a door. I'm going to say... You know what? You open a door, and as you open it, you see silhouetted against the pale light of a window in this room, there is a slender, tall black woman holding a long rifle peering out the window, her sleeves rolled up and her hair sort of done back in a bun. And you open the door in time to see her fire. And let me roll.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, not a surprise. She's not firing at you, she's firing out the window.
Yeah.
And a shot rings out, and from the outside, Floyd, you see the carriage that was driving away, that Matt looks towards as well. A figure in the front of the carriage slumps out and falls into the icy mud below, as the horses in disarray sort of wander around, pulling the carriage in any direction.
Well, pardon me, dear woman. I back out of the room and close the door.
She
move into the next room. Essentially, Josephus...
Make a wiliness roll. Make a wiliness roll, Josephus.
That's a 1+1, too.
That's a critical failure. Okay. Here's the thing, though. I was absolutely ready to say she turns around and blows your head clean into another dimension. But she does not have a repeating rifle. So she does turn around, and boy, I don't know what god you pray to, but you're in the good books. Because she turns around and you can hear a click, but Josephus, a 1 is a 1. You tumble down the stairs.
I just turn and look at his
Tumbles over
body that
backwards
flops down on the main ground.
Ouch!
Okay. And you have taken 2 damage.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and say, someone look up what the battered injury is. Got it?
A battered cowpoke has been beaten to a pulp and takes 1d6 damage whenever they dive, are toppled, or are pushed barged into a wall. Additionally, any hard hand bludgeon attack made against the battered opponent that successfully connect deal an extra point of damage. A character who has been battered immediately has their toughness modifier capped at +1 for 24 hours.
Yeah,
Battered occurs.
I'm gonna say Josephus is battered.
Okay, my toughness is -1.
Yep. But yeah, I know that, but you're still gonna suffer everything else.
Yep, understood.
I really do like the image of Deacon going, it's safe, Josephus, and he immediately falls down the stairs.
And I just turn and I look at him and I shake my head a bit.
Oh, my back.
All right. Now, not to have tonal whiplash worse than the Phantom Menace here, but let's go back outside. Floyd, you are outside. You are
fall down the stairs.
Yeah, Floyd, you are outside. You are with Matt outside in the hail. The gunshot has just rung out. Someone has slumped forward from that carriage. Matt looks like his eyes are going crazy, darting around everywhere, unsure of what to do. And he looks at you, and in a moment of angry clarity, he screams at you, "I may be going to hell, but I'm not going back to Wisconsin." And he reaches into his pocket.
Quick draw again. I'm just gonna fire the shot off at him as my pistol's pointing right at him.
Yeah, let's roll.
That's an 8, baby. Just now 8. What's plus my other thing? So it'll be 9.
Yeah, don't worry. You, raising your revolver, you quickly put an end to Matt. And in a moment, he goes from screaming bloody murder to coldly thudding onto the ice below as hail falls down on the both of you.
I think as I stand there, smoking barrel, I then start to cough and cover my face. I've never killed a person before, and Floyd kind of starts panicking a little bit after just realizing what he's done.
Okay. After a moment, Enid gets up from behind the bar and starts walking outside, kind of shaky. And you start to hear a creaking from upstairs as someone starts to walk down the stairs and pauses at the top, looking down at Josephus, who is still on the floor, having fallen down. And she stands there a minute. Who is at the bar looking up? Reginald, make a frontier roll.
That's gonna be a 4.
In total?
Yeah, in total.
All right, you don't notice anything.
I mean, at this point, I would naturally be trying to help Josephus up, make sure
Yeah,
he's
sure.
okay.
Reginald, you know this woman as Nat. She is the aide to the mayor of Big Fork, and but you don't notice anything else. And she looks down at Josephus, and she says, "You never heard of knocking?"
I was trying to escape the gunfight.
And she pauses a minute and says, "Well, you picked the worst room to do that."
I see that now. I'm rubbing the back of my head.
What does everybody want to do at this moment?
Yeah, no, I'll stand up, somewhat imposing, next to Joe and look up the staircase and be like, "There's been enough gunshots already. We can talk this one out, can't we?"
She nods and says, "Well, I don't have a problem with any of you." And she looks at you, Reginald, and she says, "Reggie, what are you doing here?"
I got a letter saying that there would be an opportunity for some work, but it didn't pan out.
She looks outside and looks down at you and says, "You know these folks?"
I look back at Deacon and Joe and I just shake my head and say, they seem like not the worst folks I've ever met.
And she motions at Dart and with sort of holding her rifle casually points towards Dart and then towards outside, and she says, "You know the X folks?"
All I know is they were trying to rob this establishment, and Floyd and some others took exception to that, and they didn't rob it.
She nods again. What's Floyd doing?
I think Floyd, after, panicking a little bit, just walks back into the bar and kind of walks into everything that's happening, still holding his revolver. I think I immediately notice Nat and be like, oh, God.
And Nat looks at you, Floyd, and she says, huh. And Enid looks at you, Floyd, and she says, did you smoke him?
Yeah, he's dead. Right?
Enid says, that's the fourth son of a bitch that got smoked trying to rob me.
Heck yeah, Enid. I
think Floyd kind of shakes his head and puts his gun away. It's like, well, they ain't definitely gonna be bothering you anytime soon. And I think he just goes and sits down.
Nat motions to outside and also motions to Dart, and she says, put your glasses on, Enid. It's 6th. And Enid nods, and Nat says, you want to search the bodies?
Who did she say that to?
She just says it to the room.
Then, without a hesitation, Deacon dives right in.
All right, Deacon. Looking on Dart's person, you quickly find there are 2 pieces of paper on him. One is a there are 2 pieces of paper on him. One is handwritten. One looks like it is typed up. The typed up one is much longer. The handwritten one is shorter. Pausing for a second, what do you want to try and do? Do you want to try and pocket both of them? Pocket one and not the other? Scan them quickly? Tell me what you're trying to do with these.
Yeah, I think I see 2, and Deacon's still here trying to make the best situation for him at the end of the day, and Josephus if he can. I think the typed up one seems a bit more like I'll share that with everyone if I have to, but maybe I quickly try to palm and put the handwritten one away so I can just, I can share, I found a piece of paper. No one's going to question if there was another one.
All right, make a wiliness roll.
Yeah.
And I'm going to contest that with...
That's a 7 + 2, a 9.
Yeah, you do it.
Nice.
You managed to beat Nat. That was, no spoilers, that was not a likely outcome. But you did.
Nice. Let me just kiss this D8 real quick. Oh, there we go.
All right, so you're pocketing that one, and you're going to share the typed up document.
Yeah.
Okay, so the typed up document, you look at it quickly, and Nat sort of walks downstairs, and when you look at it, this is a document that is above your pay grade, unless you have an experience in let's say law, political know-how.
Oh, none at all.
Anything like that.
No.
Yeah. Then I'm gonna say, as you're holding it up, Nat sort of walks over and I think she just grabs it out of your hand.
All right. Yeah.
Make a frontier roll and just see if you can catch any words or if anything stands out to you.
It's a 5.
With a 5, I'm going to say you see the words several times, insurer and payee.
Okay. But yeah, no, she snatched it out of my hand. I think, I'm looking at it. It's legalese. It's a bit over me. I get that it's something about, there's money involved, so I'm interested, but I don't stop her from taking it.
Okay. She says, Floyd, I think you need a drink.
I look at Enid and I go, I'll take another 2.
Josephus, you've been helped up, right?
Yes, yeah, Deacon initially helped me up, and then I just kind of slowly walked down the stairs, rubbing my back, and then eased my way into a chair.
So hang on one gosh darned fucking minute. Nat says, Floyd, Reginald. She looks at Deacon and just sort of nods. And then she looks at you, Josephus. And this is a frontier roll that is much more in character. She looks at you and she says, Josephus. And then she squints her eyes a bit and says, or Joey, when you're trying to be folksy.
Natalia, how are you?
I just do a deep sigh.
It's so good to see you.
She looks at her
I
gun.
hardly noticed. I hardly realized it was you. It's been so long.
She looks at her gun, and then she looks outside, and she says quietly to herself, I wasted that bullet.
How have you been?
She says, things in Big Fork have changed a little bit since you left, as you can see.
Why, yes, it does seem a bit more solemn around here. I should say.
You probably brought that feeling with you.
The mayor isn't here, is he?
Yes, in fact, I believe all of us are about to go see him.
I was quite afraid of that.
Nat, as she is saying this, is in the process of reloading her rifle.
Nat, if I may, I believe that maybe before...
It's Nat now. It's not Natalia, which, by the way, isn't my full name. It's Natasha.
It must... again, it's been so long. My memory is going. Perhaps we should deal with the current situation at hand.
I remember Josephus Featherswallow. Joey Feathers, when you're trying to be folksy. What was the other one? Joseph Forthright? Am I missing any names?
I call him Joe.
Joe. That is new. She's done loading her rifle, and she does not point it at anyone, but she says, Reginald, Floyd, I understand this has been a distressing situation, but I'd like you to accompany me to the mayor's house. I think I have some work for both of you, or rather, he does. And she looks at you, Josephus, and says, I'm inviting them to follow me. I'm telling you to follow me.
Very well.
And she looks at Deacon and says, are you with him?
Unfortunately, I'll come along.
She nods, and she looks at Enid and she says, there'll be some folks by to clean all this up soon. And Enid nods and gets back to work.
Nice.
At this point, the hail is easing up. Nat pauses outside a moment and considers going to the other carriage. She holds her hand up and says, And then she walks back inside and says, Enid, how about you sit on the porch a while and wait for some folks to come by. Make sure those horses don't run anywhere crazy. And Enid nods. And then she goes back out and says, all right, let's go. And she leads you out of the saloon. At this point, the hail is easing up. Frost has gathered atop the wooden houses of Big Fork, and the muddy roads are slick and frozen into dangerous shards in some parts. While many are weathering the winter in stride, the toll that the cold has taken on the town is obvious. Houses with but a single cracked window seem to have been claimed by nature entirely. This is because the cold does not forgive even a single small mistake. Very few are daring enough to venture out into town at this time, and Big Fork's market stalls seem to be a thing of distant memory. However, the people that are out and about greet you with a curious mix of receptions. Polite nods towards Nat and Floyd, and the odd scowl aimed towards Josephus. Eventually, after walking up a winding path somewhat separate from the town proper, you reach a house that is much more elaborate than any you have seen before, boasting a garish red paint that stands out against the surrounding white and brown. This is the house of Mayor Duhart.
Well, Nat, am I in trouble? I mean, I just killed a man right in front of the saloon. I don't think I should have done that.
Nat says, if you hadn't have killed him, I would.
Okay. I think at that, Floyd is at least a little reassured by that. Still reeling a little bit that he just killed somebody, but is now not panicking anymore.
You know what? I think Nat is going to... She said that initially somewhat coldly, but then I think she looks back at you and throws you a more sympathetic look. She is realizing that how distraught you are and how it is unfair to expect certain things of you. But yeah, you've made it to the mayor's house, and she says, "All right, Reginald, I don't suppose you can look any more presentable than you currently do."
I kind of fluff my jacket a little bit, but it doesn't make any real difference.
All right. She opens the door. Entering the house is an immediate soothing balm to your cold and shivering bodies as an enormous fire is crackling away in a seemingly empty room. The wallpaper in the house is a pale pink. The wooden floor is sleek and smooth, with fine-looking glassware at the ready atop any vacant table you turn your eyes on. Nat, motioning for you to follow, starts to walk towards the back of... towards a door at the back of the house. I'm gonna say, who should make a frontier roll?
Well, I will say the first thing I'm doing when I'm walking in, this is a mayor's house, so I'm looking to see if there's just like a decanter set of whiskey sitting out that I can pour myself a glass of, so I'm already looking around.
All right, Deacon, make a frontier roll.
I used a different D8 that time, but I got an 8 plus 2, a 10. No, 8 plus 1, a 9. Frontier is a plus 1, so a 9.
Hey.
Fantastic. So as Nat leads you towards a room in the back of the house, you walk past a staircase, and there isn't any sound coming from the staircase, and while Nat is walking quickly, with that roll, Deacon, you turn your eyes towards the stairs, and standing at the top of the stairs, looking down at you silently, is a man. Despite his physique, there is something quietly threatening about this man. Though he is thin, he stands tall at about 6'3". You size him up, maybe even 6'4". His eyes are tired and his face is sallow, but at his hip you see a hand axe with the blade gleaming in the light pouring in through a nearby window. Roll a d10.
Okay. That's gonna be just a straight D10 is a 3.
Yep, roll it. Okay, with a 3, a thought enters your head and you don't know where it comes from. It is thus: Old Grey, fangs are still sharp. The mayor doesn't realize the caliber of killer he has employed.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I size that right up, and I think I go from kind of, gallivantly looking around a rich mayor's house to I'm not on edge, but I'm focused again.
As you walk towards the room Nat's leading you to, you keep your eyes on this man, and he locks his eyes on you. No one else notices him. And Nat opens a set of doors, and you finally arrive at the back of the house. It is large, with several cabinets and wardrobes, in the center of which there is a large, finely crafted wooden desk. Behind it stands a man with slick black hair, wearing a fine red waistcoat, a white shirt, and lapels that are gleaming as he waves his hands around. He has a book in one of his hands and he has a pen in the other, and he seems to be muttering to himself. Mr. Duhart, Nat says. The man looks towards you and he says, well, Nat, did you deal with the situation? Is everything... And he turns his eyes on all of you and he says, guests, hello, Floyd, I believe your name is, yes?
Yes,
noticing
sir.
you first.
He takes his hat off and it's like, yes, sir.
He says, yes, Daniel's boy. Very nice to see you. He looks at you, Deacon, doesn't say anything, and then he turns his eyes to you, Josephus, and he says, and then pauses a minute, and he's paused with his mouth open, and he stops himself from saying something, and then sort of slowly closes his mouth, then slowly closes the book, then puts the book and the pen on the table, and is sort of staring at you in disbelief. And he says, Josephus...
Hello, Mr. Mayor.
What on earth has possessed you to come back?
Well, it's quite cold. And I knew that the people here were very hospitable, and so I thought that I would come back and earn my keep. Just for the winter.
He mulls over your words, and I think that you may have said the worst combination of words you could have possibly said. And he says to himself again, the people are hospitable here. Yes, that is true. And so you thought you would earn your keep here because of the hospitable people.
Not
in the
by
town.
selling my wares. I don't seek to. I'm turning over a new leaf. I'm in a different direction. I'm willing to do whatever is necessary in order to.
Oh, interesting. And what black, tarred, rotten leaf have you turned over?
Well, I am no longer selling wares, selling what I was before, the miracle tonic. It's all
No, please. And he sits down in a chair and he says, Nat, close the door. And Nat closes the doors, and he opens his desk up, and he pulls out a bottle of some kind of alcohol and starts pouring himself a drink. And he says, "No, tell me, what's your new business? I'm incredibly interested to hear what your new business is."
Well, I don't currently have a new business. That is the whole point. I'm seeking a new direction in life.
Mayor Duhart is instinctively pouring drinks for all of you.
Yeah, I think my focus has been like, how can I interject and like defend Joseph here? But as soon as I see the alcohol, I've zoned that out. I'm focused on it.
Oh, everyone. We'll do it at the beginning of next episode, but we should be aware of everyone's virtues and vices.
Sure.
And he says, "Oh, that's very interesting. Do you remember what my exact words to you were, Josephus, when you last left town?"
The exact words. It was to leave. Or.
Or.
It's not really. I can't recall exactly what you told me then.
I told you that you should never show your face in town again, because if you did, bare minimum, I would put you behind bars for 2.5 years.
No, I hate to interrupt, but is one of those for me?
Oh, yes, my good man. Go ahead. And he sort of pushes one of the drinks towards you on the table. And he says, "So, I am curious why you decided to come back. Did you think the inside of a prison cell would just be warmer than outside? Do you think I had a 5-star luxury establishment squirreled away just for you?"
No, by no means, Mr. Mayor. Perhaps rather, it was that I recognize the new path in which I am traveling, and I seek to do time for the wrongdoings that I have committed. You know, I left town, and in my opinion, being a changed man, that was a cowardly thing to do. So I've come back in order I've come back to my home in order to make amends. However, I need to do that.
At the phrase "do time," his eyebrows comically shoot up.
Yeah, I think Deacon chokes on his drink a bit just saying that.
In Josephus's mind, he's thinking, maybe if I suck up to him enough, he will take pity on poor old me.
Yeah. Make a fast talk roll.
Okay. That's a 7 + 1 and 8.
Good rolls today, boys.
Good grief.
All right. Well, he is hearing you out, and he says, "Well, Josephus, color me surprised. This is honestly a very unexpected turn of events." And he now notices that he has been pouring glasses of alcohol for people here, so distracted by the temerity and audacity of Josephus showing up that he's poured like 9 drinks.
Yeah, I'm like, can I have another one of those? You poured them, so.
Josephus wants to ask for a drink, but he doesn't. He just kind of looks at them and then looks away.
Mayor Duhart is just, he's not paying attention. He's just sort of stunned. And he turns to Nat and says, "So Nat, what happened with those 3? And Nat says, "They're dealt with. I've sent your man to clean up the situation." And he says, "Good girl, Nat. Good girl. So, what are all these chaps doing here?" And Nat says, "Well, I figured you would potentially need Reginald and Floyd for that job of yours." And she motions to Deacon, "This big fellow seems fairly competent." And she says, and I thought you might want to throw Josephus in jail. And he said, Mayor Duhart says, very good, Nat, very good, right on all counts. And he says, well, gentlemen, are you interested in work?
Sure would be.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm happy to help you out, Mr. Mayor, as long as I can get home at some point to feed the chickens and Hector. They've been alone in the house for a couple hours now, and I just want to make sure everybody's all right, but I'm always willing to help out. Yes, sir.
Of course, Floyd, you'll have time to head home before what I need you all for. Very good. I'm pausing because I'm wondering if Josephus wants to say anything.
Mr. Mayor, it occurs to me that, I mean, just based on the caliber of job you may have in mind, perhaps they may need a fourth on their trip, and perhaps I could help out, and that might be a way to start making amends, so to speak.
Duhart smiles from ear to ear, and he necks one of the drinks that he poured, and he slams it down on the desk, and he says, Martingale. And he looks at all of you sort of expectantly, and he says, well?
Yeah, I mean, my eyebrows raise for sure.
And his eyes for the first time are really focused on you now, Reginald, and he says, oh, you there, you worked in the gambling hall for a time. And he says, you know what I'm talking about, right? Do you have any gambling know-how?
I do, yes.
Roll gambling know-how.
So that's going to be a 4 plus 3, so 7.
In your time working at the gambling hall, you heard this phrase a few times, mostly only when Mayor Duhart was visiting. A martingale is a bet in which, upon losing, you double what your initial bet was. So if you make a bet of $10, you lose, you would then bet $20. And it is supposedly a style of betting that is meant to recuperate your losses. Roll a d10.
6.
Okay, nothing happens. And he says, do you want to explain what a martingale is?
So, I used to work over at the gambling hall, and it was
that's right, Reggie. And he takes another drink.
It was a style of gambling, I believe, that some people favored, where it would be, say, like Deacon here. If he bet something and cards didn't break his way, he'd double his bet next time, kind of an effort to make that losses back.
Wonderfully put, Reggie. Wonderfully put. A style of French betting not far from my original home. And he says, he looks to you, Josephus, and says, how about a martingale?
So,
say yes, Joe.
well, what is?
It means
Yes.
you'll accompany them on this job. If you are successful, all of your prior crimes will be forgotten. You'll be back to zero in town. If you fail, you'll go to jail for 5 years. A martingale.
I think that is a very generous offer, and I will accept. He says this, by the way, and his eyes are wide and thinking about, like when he walked in today, he remembered, oh yeah, if I set foot in this town, I'd have to spend 2.5 years in jail, and now just the enormity of 5 years in jail is in his mind. And he's like, yes, I accept. And he's like freaking out on the inside.
Floyd, this entire time, looks so confused. He has no idea what anybody is talking about for the past 5 minutes.
And Mayor Duhart looks at you, Deacon, and he says, it is hard not to like him. He says he accepts before even hearing the job.
I just smile and go, he's a character. You got another drink?
And I say, and Duhart says, Josephus, what if the job was swimming in a tank full of sharks? I suppose you think you could talk your way out of that, don't you?
Knowing him, you never know.
I actually have swum with sharks before.
There it is.
They're quite gentle beasts.
Make a fast talk roll, because you definitely haven't swum with sharks before.
Yes, but my vice.
Yeah.
That's a 2 + 1.
Here we go.
Mayor Duhart sighs and he says, the problem is the charm he has is great in short supply, isn't it? In short supply, it can be really quite enjoyable. In very, very small doses. And he sighs and looks down and says, gentlemen, I have a business that is somewhat, I hate to say this, somewhat shady, somewhat murky, somewhat grimy, somewhat dirty. Not the kind of business that I really like to be associated with, but something that needs to be done all the same.
Well, let me just say, and I put my hand on Josephus' shoulder, despite what you may remember this fella, I keep a strong eye on him. And if there's work to be done, regardless of its nature, I'm your man.
I think you're definitely drunk by now.
Yeah, I do too.
And Mayor Duhart continues. He says, as you know, Big Fork has had a little trouble lately. The gold has dried up. The gambling hall has been a moderate success. And we are going to be opening a museum soon. It is my hope that this museum will be something else to draw in new people and tourists into town. In fact, we're even considering renaming the entire town.
Why, what on earth would you rename it to?
A museum town?
No, I wouldn't call it Museum Town. We were thinking
Rolls
of
off
calling
the
it.
tongue.
We were thinking of calling it Tornbright Hills, after a war hero that was born in this very town. Well, this settlement before it was really a town, but still, we're a young town. We take what we can get.
That's good, too.
So what is the business that you would have us do?
He says, well, it's come to my attention that a notorious, nasty, criminal organization seeks to dig its heel into my plans of establishing this town and pulling it back from the brink of despair. A criminal gang known as the Nesmond Brothers seek to intercept my shipment of cargo for the museum, steal it, and then off away with it to sell it for whatever it is criminals buy. Can you imagine anything more awful than that?
No, sir. We need to stop them. That just can't be something that's happening.
They're going to doom the entire town, aren't they?
I mean,
Well, surely none of us would want that. I look around. Trying to get some sympathetic nods.
No, I
roll-
think
roll-
at
roll
this
a-
statement, Deacon is definitely like tuned in. He doesn't react to you at all, Josephus.
Josephus makes some kind of talk roll again.
I think that would be a fast. It wouldn't be hard talk. So fast or steady both have a +1.
I think steady. I think
Well,
you're
that
very,
is that is an 8 + 1.
oh my goodness.
Okay.
I got the extremes today.
Okay, and
haven't rolled like a 4 or a 5, but I've gotten 1s and 8s and 2s and 7s.
Mayor Duhart looks at you, Josephus, and says, yes, exactly. No one would want that. Even Josephus sees it. And he's a downright cad.
It just kind of like looks down.
An absolute worm of a man.
Deacon
And
has
even
like
he
unconsciously
understands.
just nodded along with the.
And then he says, a cad, an absolute worm of a man. And then Nat in the background says, a real mouse. And then Duhart says, yes, exactly, a mouse. But you're very right in this instance. So Nat here, she's my eyes and ears everywhere. She knows everything about the criminal comings and goings, the movers and shakers out in that big wide world of ours. And she has befriended the Nesmond brothers.
Now,
And he says she knows when and where they plan to intercept the cargo heading for the town and the museum. And she has convinced them to let some capable young men join their criminal organization. And he is smiling very widely now, and he says, picture this. The notorious Nesmond brothers about to intercept some precious, expensive, unique, wonderful cargo for a brand new museum in a brand new town on the frontier. And they're intercepted and stopped by 4 residents of that town. What a headline. And he is just like beaming with happiness and pride. And he says like, can you think of a better way to advertise the opening of the museum? Can you think of a better way to tell the world that Tornbright Hills is a safe place full of culture, whose residents are hardy and strong? What do you think of this plan?
So essentially you want us to just go and stop these people as a publicity stunt?
No, you don't understand. You see, any group of layabout bruisers, and he does look at you, Deacon, when he says that. Any group of layabout bruisers could just go to the cave and shoot them up. What I want is I want you to join their gang. I want you to carry out the heist. And then once it's carried out, I want you to stop and arrest them. Isn't that a better headline? You see, it's not very interesting to read about if you just go into a cave and shoot them all up, is it?
No,
It's
I
effective.
suppose not.
I got one
It's
question for you,
effective.
Mayor.
Yes?
I know what's in it for my man Josephus here. What's in it for the rest of us?
He says, well, I'm glad you asked. And he looks at you, Reginald, and he says, you're a veteran, right, Reginald?
That's correct.
Well, I'm very sorry you haven't been taken better care of in this cruel world of ours. As you may or may not know, the town of Big Fork, hopefully soon Tornbright Hills, our old sheriff is on the way out. We actually have a new one that should be coming down any day now. He may need a new deputy.
I think when Reggie hears this, he kind of raises an eyebrow, and then he just walks up to the mayor and says, well, I can't speak for the rest of these fellows, but I'm in.
He looks at Josephus and says, Josephus doesn't want to rot in prison for 5 years. I doubt he'd survive that. As I said, he's an absolute worm.
Yeah.
Aren't you, Josephus?
I suppose I am.
He looks at you, Deacon, and he says, and I suppose Josephus here employs you, correct?
In a way.
Well, you'd be out of work if Josephus here were rotting away in prison.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that.
And on top of that, and I'm not saying anything here, okay? We're role-playing out a fantasy here, so keep this in mind. I'm not saying anything, but I imagine if I did a little dicking into your background,
Yeah, we're
again,
in.
as just a
Nah,
hypothetical.
we're in. Don't worry about it.
And Mayor Duhart's eyebrows raise, and he says, "Oh, I was actually going to offer you some things on top of the threat, but this is brilliant."
I'll take them, but
And finally, he looks at you. Floyd, and he says, "You know, I've been told now, Floyd, that you've taken to hunting your food. My man tells me there isn't much out in those woods, though. The other day he saw a beaver frozen in a lake from the waist up. So I suppose even if there is hunting, there's not much sport in it, right?"
Things are getting real scarce. Yes, sir.
He says, "How much have you made from your ranch the last few months? I assume you're selling all of those eggs in town? A few dollars a week?"
If even. That's a good week.
He says, "Floyd, I will give you $50 for doing this job. That will be more than enough to take you through. That will be more than enough to take you through this December. More than enough to take you through January. The cold has to ease up after that."
That's very generous of you, sir. I will absolutely
And he says,
help.
on top of that, your name will be in the papers. He says, your father was a veteran too, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He was.
He says, he nods and smiles and says, "You'd make him very proud."
Oh, thank you, sir.
And he looks at all 4 of you and he says, "Now, if I'm correct, that's all of you on board."
When do we get started? How did we get started?
And he says, my girl Nat here will fill you in on all of the details. And he stands up and he says, But it's a deal. And he goes forward to shake all of your hands with a big, giant smile on his face. And first off, he very quickly shakes Josephus's hand. Then he more warmly shakes Floyd's hand. Then he somewhat awkwardly shakes Deacon's hand, apparently still a little put off by him. And finally, he shakes your hand, Reginald. Reginald, roll a d10 again.
9.
As he shakes your hand and the clap rings out, and you stare into his smiling face, suddenly you remember something. A martingale is sometimes also called a fool's wager.
Thank you so much for listening to the first episode of RPG Roulette Martingale. It was an absolute blast and honor to have Will on the show to lead us through his system. Something we never really thought would happen, but it was a ton of fun, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you are at all interested in playing Dead in the West and supporting Will, go head over to deadinthewest.gumroad.com to get your hands on the game. And if you want to see more of what Will does, because he does more than just tabletop role-playing games, you can check it out over on his YouTube channel, Infranaut. That is INFRANAUT. If you're a new listener and you're just finding us, maybe you just stumbled upon this, and maybe you were familiar with Will before this. We're happy to have you around. I hope you enjoyed. We ordinarily are a show where everyone's the game master, and we kind of go around in an odd roulette fashion where at the end of every episode we spin a wheel, and whoever's name it lands on, they become the game master in the next episode, and we don't share notes, and we try our best to tell a cohesive narrative that way. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. But this has been a fun little break to have one game master for a couple of episodes. We don't know how many episodes this is going to be right now at the time of this edit, and that we're releasing this episode to you, but we'll let you know. But yeah, keep an eye out. We're in a bit of an odd off season right now. We're releasing content, but our next main series starts in April, and we should have a special kind of introducing the new system we're going to be playing through coming out in sometime in March. We don't have a ton of dates right now, but keep an eye on social media. We're getting better at using all of them, but Twitter's the best bet if you want to stay up to date on everything coming out. RPG Roulette, head on over to Twitter at RPG Roulette. And at the end of every episode, I'd like to thank our high rollers in the Patreon, Monohim, Tabor TCU, and Mr. Grant Howell. Your support makes this show possible. Thanks, everyone, and we will see you next time with the next episode of RPG Roulette Martingale.
Sip of water.
Will?
Yeah.
Why did you get like a kilogram of jelly snakes in the mail?
What? Did I?
That package is a kilogram of jelly snakes. Like, you know, the candy.
What the fuck? Well, first off, give me one.
Sorry, guys.
No, you're so good.